You open your payslip, you do the math, rent, load, fare, food. Somehow it never adds up the way it should. You've heard the same explanation your whole life. Corrupt politicians, lazy culture, bad luck, case closed. But the real answer is far stranger and far older than any politician currently in office. It starts almost 500 years ago, not with a president, but with a system. When Spain colonized the archipelago in 1565, it didn't just plant a flag, it planted a structure. Land was carved up and handed to a small circle of loyal families and the Catholic Church. Everyone else worked that land, but almost no one owned it. Economist Darren Acemoglu calls this an extractive institution. Simple version, a system built to pull wealth upward, not spread it outward. It wasn't designed to build a nation. It was designed to ship gold, sugar, and tribute back to Madrid. Here's the strange part. That structure didn't leave when the Spanish did. When the Americans arrived in 1898, they promised reform. What they delivered was a modernized version of the same hierarchy. Land titles got clearer on paper. Ownership stayed exactly where it already was. A handful of families kept the haciendas, everyone else kept farming someone else's soil. Fast forward to independence in 1946. You'd think a free nation starts fresh. It didn't. Historian Alfred McCoy studied this exact pattern in his research on Philippine oligarchy. He found something uncomfortable. The same colonial-era families who controlled land under Spain, then under America, simply moved into Congress, into governorships, into the Senate. The names changed generation to generation. The structure underneath barely moved at all. So why does this matter today, decades later? Because land reform, the one policy that could have broken the cycle, kept getting watered down. Every version, from the 1950s to the 1988 Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, ran straight into the same wall. The people voting on land redistribution were often the same families who owned the land being redistributed. Economist Emmanuel de Dios, who has spent years studying Philippine institutional economics, points to this as a defining feature of the country's slow growth. Weak institutions don't collapse dramatically. They just quietly protect whoever already has power, election after election. Now here's the twist. It's not only about land, and it's not only about history. Geography works against the Philippines too. Over 7,000 islands sound beautiful on a postcard. Economically, they're a nightmare. Roads, ports, and power grids have to be built and rebuilt across water gaps that most countries never have to think about. Add 20 typhoons a year, sitting directly in the Pacific typhoon belt, and infrastructure gets destroyed almost as fast as it gets built. You lose progress you already paid for, every single year. And there's one more piece people rarely talk about. Your best workers are often somewhere else. Millions of nurses, engineers, and seafarers leave every year, not because they want to abandon home, but because wages abroad can be 5, sometimes 10 times higher. Economists call this brain drain. It keeps families afloat through remittances. It also means some of the country's most capable people spend their working lives building someone else's economy instead of their own. There's a tax angle too, and it's easy to miss. A modern government needs steady revenue to build roads, schools, and hospitals. But when a small class of families controls most of the land and most of the major industries, they also tend to hold outsized influence over how tax law gets written. Loopholes survive. Exemptions survive. The formal economy stays smaller than it should be, and millions of workers slide into informal jobs that never show up in tax rolls at all. Less revenue means less infrastructure. Less infrastructure means slower growth. Slower growth means the same families who already have capital are the only ones positioned to benefit when growth finally comes. It compounds instead of resetting. Compare that to countries like South Korea or Taiwan, which pursued aggressive land reform in the mid-20th century, breaking up large estates and redistributing ownership at scale. Their economies took off within a generation. The Philippines attempted the same idea, repeatedly, and each attempt got diluted before it could finish the job. Same starting point in the 1950s, very different outcome by the 1990s. That gap didn't come from culture. It came from whether reform was allowed to actually happen. So, is it corruption? Is it laziness? Neither one actually explains it. Corruption is a symptom of weak institutions, not the root cause of them. And the idea of a lazy culture falls apart the moment you look at overseas Filipino workers, who are famous worldwide for exactly the opposite reputation. The real answer is quieter and less satisfying than a villain. It's 5 centuries of land concentrated in the same hands. It's reform laws written by the people reform was meant to constrain. It's geography that punishes infrastructure investment. It's talent exported instead of retained. None of that fits on a protest sign. All of it fits in a spreadsheet, if anyone bothered to build one, honestly. Think about that payslip again. The math that never adds up isn't really about you. It's about a structure built centuries before you were born, still running quietly in the background of your rent, your fare, your grocery bill. You didn't inherit a broken calculator. You inherited an old machine built to move wealth upward that nobody has fully dismantled yet.